Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm so excited tonight. So I brought a bunch of my buds in. It's hard to find people that love Star Wars as much as I do, and I believe that I have.
It's really not that hard. You just have to go to a corner. A Star Wars corner.
I went to a couple corners,
Well,
and they
did.
thought Star
That's
Wars was
actually-
something I had to pay for.
That's actually where he was.
But I'm so excited to have it. I want to get into a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I'm asked every single day by friends, family, people online, Star Wars questions, and I want to get right into it, guys. I'm Zack. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Got a couple of my buddies here. We got
I'm Jason the X from SCNS Live.
Dude, I'm so glad you're here. And we got the whole crew from Redbeard TV.
The whole Redbeard TV crew.
Do you have an actual name, Redbeard?
We do.
Or?
My real name is Chris. Shockingly, this is Philip from Redbeard TV. I'm Chris. This is Mike, and yeah, we're Redbeard TV.
His name's really not Chris.
And
My name is not Chris. I was a lie.
And we're all diehard Star Wars fans.
That's
So
right.
Yeah,
You've
we
got
are.
people like, oh, I like Star Wars. I like those laser swords and spaceships. And then you've got us.
I would slap someone if they called it a laser sword.
Just saying, those are
Yeah.
fans. We're like very passionate.
If you say laser sword again, I'm going to have a seizure. But
I've heard it.
The main people that I have to thank for my love of Star Wars is mostly Jedi Council. If you guys ever watch AMC Movie Talk, Collider Video, John Campia, Schmoes Knows, they really got me like invested into Star Wars heavily because of how in-depth they are. And I hope to do the same thing for our viewers with these videos. We can't hope to be as good as them, but we will be one day.
There is no try. Only do, Zach.
That's the kind of talent I pull in, guys. Look at this.
Star Wars references.
Oh my
All
gosh.
day.
Woo! Let's do it.
We're pulling the X-Wing out of the swamp next. So guys, the first segment is I want everyone to understand why we love Star Wars. Most people just know it. There's a huge generational gap. You either watched it and lived in the 70s, like John, who runs the studio. He told me the greatest story today when he's 7 years old, being with his dad, seeing it. I'm too young to know about it. And I saw the prequels, and I want to erase them from my mind as soon as I can. But for me, it was actually the expanded universe, the books, that really got me into it. I love the lore. I actually don't care too much about the movies. I like them, I respect them, but I love the universe that George Lucas built. Just how far it can go, and that's why I'm excited to talk about Episode 7, because it's going on up and out. Jason, why do you love Star Wars?
I've always been a big fan of spaceships, and that's my favorite part of Star Wars. I love the X-Wings, the A-Wings, B-Wings, the Millennium Falcon, because they're as much as part of the cast as the actors are. It's almost like you had, like with TIE fighters, everything is so distinctive, and the way it meshes with everybody else. You got the different TIE interceptors, and Darth Vader has his own. Those are the kind of things I like. I love the space battles, because, I mean, we've got Star Trek fans, and they all try to compare it, but with Star Trek, it was the actors inside the ships. With Star Wars, we actually got to see these big space battles and people leaving it. That's really what I loved. I mean, the characters are something I love, but I just love how everything kind of meshes together, and everything is so integral.
It's like
to the
another
whole part of it.
next level sci-fi. It was like
Yes.
it's something we haven't seen
It
before.
wouldn't be
Next level
Star Wars
sci-fi.
if you dropped out all the X-Wings, or didn't have the Millennium Falcon, or didn't have any of these things. It just wouldn't, it doesn't seem it would work as well. That's it. Everything ties in together so well, and that's why I've always loved it.
My Viking buddy, why do you love Star Wars?
I have to kind of take something away from your buddy John, because it was kind of my dad that turned me onto it, because we used to watch all the old school 80s movies, Blade Runner, Big Trouble in Little China, Star Wars, Indiana
Dude,
Jones,
you have a
all
good
that
dad, man.
stuff. Dude, it was great.
My
I
dad
loved it.
did
Like,
Star Wars and Blade, but
because like you
that's
said,
the
the
limit.
generational gap. It's like I'm in that generational gap where I wasn't around for the release, but I saw the prequels. I was old enough to know they were lame. But my dad and I, we used to watch all these awesome 80s movies and stuff, and he's just like turned me on to them. And it's kind of like what you said with the spaceships. It's like you could tell with the sets and everything else, it wasn't just, well, let's just throw up a green screen and see what we can come up with. It was like, I mean, you look at photos from back then, it's like this dude is literally putting a 2-inch piece on a model. No one's ever going to notice.
The real effects.
But
Practical effects.
the whole everything comes around to it, and you're like, the whole thing comes together.
Oh, like
It's
real
so
movie
beautiful.
making. Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Crazy with film.
Oh.
What's
People don't know that
film?
anymore.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, that's what it is, man. I mean, it all goes back to my dad, because it was just awesome. Because I mean, it was just like he showed me all these movies, and like I'm still into it today. Like you show me a sci-fi movie filmed last year, and I'll show you one from the 80s that was so much better.
Yeah,
The artist formerly known as Chris, that we're not sure about if that's his real name.
allegedly.
Why do you love Star Wars?
Man, you know, kind of like what you guys were saying. Like my parents showed them to me when I was young. I got into them and just never really kind of got out of it. I think the thing that really solidified it was probably Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox. Just living in that world, and that was one of the first RPGs I really invested myself into. So that kind of even like hooked me into video games and games that are a little more expansive than just like a third-person action adventure game. But the fact that it was in a Star Wars universe and I became so familiar with it, and you know, a lot of it to me is like you were saying, the real effects, the models, the character design, the droid designs. I really love R2D2. I'm a huge fan of BB-8. I think it's such a cool, unique design, and it's unlike anything that had ever been seen before. And you know, the stories just resonate. I think the problem, personally, I don't mean to get too far ahead, but I think the problem with the prequels is that they were too overly complicated. You look at the original trilogy, and there's there's new characters and stuff like that, and that was so cool is because when like Jabba the Hutt was like introduced, it's just Jabba the Hutt. You just have to infer that he is who he is, and you just learn along the lines. And then of course there's an expanded universe, and people write other stories about Jabba. And now there's new Marvel Star Wars comics that tell a little bit about Jabba's backstory and stuff like that. But when the movies came out, you just have to go with it. You're just like, okay, there's this giant green fat.
You didn't need any of that.
Yeah, you didn't need any of that. Like you just
Off topic, I think a great movie that did that was John Wick. Just like John Wick, you're like, I don't
jumped
even know
into it.
anything about this hotel. I know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Yep.
Let's go through it. And that's good storytelling. I think that's what we're all expecting with the crew that Disney's put together.
Yeah.
Is that
And they're
Because
bringing
it doesn't expect you. I mean, they show you the characters. They don't have to give you a backstory, and that's what's so important about the beginning scroll, the classic scroll, is because that's all the backstory you need. It gives you backstory at the beginning of the movie.
we'll get into that in the canon part.
Okay.
We're excited. Chris
But I
is so
love Star
excited.
Wars, love it.
Yeah.
I have an
So
R2D2.
excited.
I have an R2D2 tattoo on my leg. That's a true story. So I'm diehard.
I'm going to see that later.
I don't know if we can get your leg on the table.
I can't. Yeah. No.
Mike,
Got a bum head.
actually, when it falls off, we'll put it up on the
Right,
table.
there you go.
Mike, why do you love Star Wars?
Well, for me, I'm on the other end of that spectrum. I will have seen all 7 in the theaters because I'm real old. So, like, again, yeah, like, well, same thing with your dad. When, as a kid growing up in the 80s, anybody that had a car and a license to take me to the movies, I would go. It was Flash Gordon, whether it was all the Star Wars movies. Now I get to take my children. You'll be able to take your daughter to see Star Wars. We can go on and on and on and on for stories, but like I've got an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old, and now I'm going to take them to see the beginning
Star
of another trilogy.
The Star Wars.
Yeah, they were excited about the prequels, but
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
teach them the right way.
So we've all talked about why we love Star Wars, and the hard part about Star Wars and a lot of things that have such a big fan base and have such a big literature and like huge universe, new people coming in, it's hard for them to jump on it. Like it's when comic book movies came out, they're like, well, who's Daredevil and who's Ben Affleck and why is he from Jersey? And there's so
Why is he from Jersey?
like why didn't I saw Dogma, that was okay, I guess, but
Yeah.
there's so much that it's hard for people to jump in. Like my wife, she's like, Star Wars, I know that's a literal thing. Great. Why do you like it? And so
I know that the Star Wars is a thing.
yeah, it's 2 words that are combined, and it was a big deal at one time to a bunch of nobodies. But now it's a global phenomenon, and it's going to continue to grow, and we want to bring people into it. So we're going to explain exactly how when Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion, now what you should read, what you shouldn't read, what you should pay attention not pay attention to, like canon. So canon is a word. Chris, can you please explain to me what the word canon means? And so when we refer to that, what are we talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. When you refer to canon is kind of like the word itself is obviously it's not like a giant bullet shooting weapon, but the
Sounds
canon
cool,
with canon when we're referring to Star Wars is if canon is all of the things that are included in a story and are considered true elements to a story. For example, the expanded universe of Star Wars, all of the books and things like that, George Lucas would approve them, and then they would be considered official canon. The Star Wars video games were official canon. When Disney acquired Star Wars, they uncanonized all of those expanded books because they want to write they want to move forward.
So
with
in
their own
so in large sum, canon is what we should care about. It's it's fact.
It's fact.
It's fact at that
it's,
point.
it's factual things that fit in the fiction.
It's the universe that he built.
Right.
Great. So Jason, what, as we know right now, for viewers, if they want to walk into episode 7, which by the way, you guys can probably go into episode 7 and watch it and be just fine. Please do go see it 4
And I
or
mean,
5
most
times.
importantly, though, if people are watching this and you haven't seen the original Star Wars trilogy, just stop watching us right now.
This
and
is
go
your.
do that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what Disney has done. Now, granted, I love some of the expanded universe stuff. Like I loved Rogue Squadron, but now they've wiped all of that. Now is a perfect jumping on point for anybody.
And
just
what is canon? That's the thing. I wanted you to define exactly what should people.
What is officially canon now?
Yeah.
Is
is
that what you're asking?
That's what I
the
wanted
movies,
Jason to.
the
Yeah.
prequels and the 3 Star Wars movies that we have.
And then the
that's
anime,
canon.
the CG shows, the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars and Rebels, and
is
also
canon.
what they're doing in Marvel Comics right now, especially with this week's comic, Star Wars Shattered Empire.
That's actually the prequel to the episode.
This picks up right at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And this is what I was actually excited for with Marvel getting back into making these books, because they do have a Star Wars series going right now, which takes place right after they blow up the Death Star.
Yeah, it happens right after A New Hope.
And
The
we're,
first
having,
Death Star,
we're
yeah.
having some great stories in there already.
There's quite a few. I mean, like, if anybody is interested in checking out what Marvel's doing, which, by the way, when I first picked up the first Star Wars comic, like, how crazy is that I'm reading a Star Wars comic by Marvel who is owned by Disney? And it's just so, I mean, it's like all of those elements. Like, these are all companies and franchises that I've always loved. And I mean, like, especially after having kids, like, I love Disney. They do great stuff, and they pick the right people. Like with everything they've done with Marvel, they let Marvel do it. Like, they leave them alone, but it's ultimately they're the ones that are like writing the checks and taking the
So
money.
the official canon is, so if you guys go see the movies, you'll be caught up. You don't need to go do this. But for the rest of us nerds and dweebs and geeks who want to understand and really like engulf themselves into the lore, all the books. So the current books that are out are A New Dawn, that talks about Kanan from
Rebels. Yeah.
And that talks about him and before Rebels happened and kind of the in-between period of when all the Jedis got killed off. That's his book. It's really good. I suggest reading it.
Kanan actually has a comic book as well. He doesn't have just a...
It actually is the
there's-
second highest selling comic book out, first rated Star Wars comic book out right
Nice.
now.
I don't think those that's the only
They're
one I
really
haven't read
good.
yet.
Actually-
They are good.
Because there's a Princess Leia one that's done. There's a Darth Vader one that's still going. The
Darth
actual
Vader's
Star
the
Wars.
best.
And
Darth
Kanan-
Vader is the Darth Vader one is the best.
It's like
Absolutely.
Breaking Bad, and then like what we thought Darth Vader was, because in the movies, in the first movies, is like Darth Vader's like an old retired bad A, and the original ones he's a whiny girl. You're like, I want to see what's in between.
Yeah,
I want to see the prime, and that
this
comic
this
is the
what-
prime.
What's interesting is it's actually not in between. It's in between A New Hope. So yeah, if anybody is watching and you want to pick up some of the comics, the Star Wars, actually just simple Star Wars, and then the Star Wars Darth Vader are great. And you kind of actually need to read them in tandem, because events that happen in the Star Wars comic bleed over into the Darth Vader.
I'm
But
loving how evil those Darth Vader comics are.
pretty
too.
good. Yeah.
The Kanan Jarrus one, they just finished their first story arc of just the events after Order 66.
Right.
And now we're going to get into seeing more of the Rebels in the comic, which the cartoon is great. It has
Season
a
two's
kid-
kicking it up though. Season two's
It
about.
has kind of a kiddie element. That's not in the comic book. And I want to see that team like that.
I thought it was amazing in Rebels where Darth Vader puts the lightsaber to Ezra's throat and says, "Oh, you thought this guy could have taught you to be a Jedi? You were taught wrong." They drop one of the walkers on top of Darth Vader. They're like, "He's dead," and he picks it up with one hand like a boss and just throws it off to the side and was like, "You guys don't even know who you're messing with."
His metacalorians are up.
I'm going to talk to you about that later because I am.
When they
But
introduced Vader, it was like, we are in danger. There is no, we're going to get the upper hand at some point.
Because if
It's cool.
if Kanan could stand up to Vader, I would have almost been checked out.
Well, I mean, what's so interesting, I mean, like, like outside of those storylines, the fact that Disney acquired Star Wars, and now we're revisiting these
know.
characters that, spoiler alert, Darth Vader dies, but he's not going to be in 7. I know. I know.
Flashbacks.
Flashbacks, yeah.
Hot flashes.
We saw that in the
For
teaser.
sure.
We saw that in the teaser.
Yeah,
We saw his
yeah,
missing.
yeah.
But okay, so the rest of the canon, Tarkin, which is a book all about
Yep.
General Tarkin. He's the old guy with like the white whiz going back. A really good book I liked was Heir to the Jedi. If you ever want to know how to build a lightsaber with the Force, it talks about it real in depth in chapter 4. Heir to the Jedi is really great. The best book they've put out so far. If you want to read an amazing character-driven story with Palpatine and Darth Vader, Lords of the Sith. They're trapped on a planet, and rebels are hunting them down on the planet, and they're running around just themselves. No ships, like 2 stormtroopers, surviving on this planet by themselves. And it really gets into the Sith lore of the power of the 1 and 2 that Darth Bane put into place. And like literally, Vader's like, he's like, Palpatine's like, you want to kill me, don't you? And he's like, yeah, I want to kill you. He's like, good, I want you to kill me, because that means it's working. And you're like, what am I reading? But that's the Sith. The Sith is 2 people. One guy who teaches the apprentice, and the apprentice needs to overcome the master. So the Sith look at the Force like these cups. If there's 4 Sith people, the power is being split up among 4 people.
Yeah.
No, that's not cool. 2 people, 2 cups, 2 cups of water. Like the Force should be concentrated and literally in one person.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I didn't see that in the first original 3 movies. I saw some cool music and amazing like practical effects,
what's
but I'm ready to see that
interesting, too,
lore.
is they don't really even use the term Sith very often, or if at all. In the
I
original
think they reference it.
Every once in a while they'll reference it. But
Yeah,
it's
it
not like
was
they
very
do
it
the
was very
rules
sparingly
to-
used.
It
But,
was so-
but
but
then
then-
again, Vader's like the last one. So
Yeah.
you're
And
the
then,
host of that ancient religion.
And then Aftermath. I'm halfway through it. It is literally what happens after Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
And there's a 30-year gap.
Between Jedi and
Force
7.
Awakens, yeah.
Yep.
So this kind of helps close that, which I'm excited to read. So again, if you guys are looking to kind of dive into the expand, like beyond the movies, and you really like it, those are the suggested pickups.
We got
I
30
do.
years worth of storytelling right before us.
And
Woo!
pick them up on audible.com. Put in the code Dweeb20. Then you guys go on audible.com. You get a free membership for a couple months. And check them out. I love Audible because I don't have time to sit down and read. I have a child. She eats all
you
my
can
books.
listen, yeah.
Read to
Yeah,
them.
so I go and escape in my car for several hours and say, I'm doing work. And I just drive around the city and listen to Star
I'm
Wars stuff.
definitely going to be picking up Aftermath. So
It's-
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the Lords of the Sith and Aftermath, I would probably say.
Yeah.
And then if you
I'm
just get
interested in
too
Lords of the
bored or divorced, maybe the other ones.
Star Wars causes divorces.
Yeah,
Or marriages. It technically is a religion that can marry people.
that's true.
But let's get into this, guys. I'm going to switch it up. I know I talked about the show notes before, but let's start with a short, fun segment. The Force Friday. We all did it.
Yep.
If you guys follow us on Facebook or
Some of
Twitter,
us.
please do.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I skipped work. I hope none of my bosses are watching this. I left like at 2 o'clock and just raided Disney Store, which is the best stuff for Disney stuff,
for
by the
sure.
way. But I picked up the remote controlled BB-8, which is a member of my family now. That's Jason's. Mine is sitting in a satin bed somewhere because I love him that much.
Gave him a dog bed.
Yep. I picked up the die-cast Kylo Ren. If you don't know who that is, and it sounds like I'm speaking Spanish, we'll cover that later. But die-cast is like, it's really nice, really heavy mobile toys. And I absolutely love it. But Jason, you went nuts. What did you get on Force Friday?
I didn't go nuts. I didn't get out to Force Friday until 8 a.m. because I was unfortunately drinking and just forgot that I was going out to get Star Wars toys. I was able to get Finn, and he doesn't come with this lightsaber. Spoiler. It's a... Anyway.
I was questioning that because I almost went and got the
I-
black set just because I thought it came with it. So did you just like retrofit that yourself?
No, it came off X-Wing Luke. I
Okay.
collect the Black Series Star Wars figures. I actually got out of Star Wars figures a while ago, but I said in the back of my mind, if they ever do 6-inch figures, I'm back in. And when they announced it, I was
The
like,
average size figures
Yeah.
for most males.
Yeah, I mean, it's the newer ones, even the newer ones from episode 7. Like all of the toys and all of the stuff are great, but the black box ones are way superior.
yeah,
I mean, 'cause
fantastic
they're
detailing
fantastic, yeah.
and articulation
I
and
mean,
everything.
what's really cool with this Finn figure too is that like it looks like the actor.
Oh, it is
looks,
it looks like John Boyega.
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley's could be better.
That's racist.
But honestly, the only ones I'm missing are Kylo Ren, and I'm gonna come steal your Stormtrooper later.
Okay. I did, yeah. No, I was able to. I was actually in Las Vegas, and we were there up until Thursday, and we flew back from Vegas on Force Friday. So I wasn't able to go and do any of the midnight events. But as soon as we landed, I told the wife, I was like, Toys R Us, let's go.
Which you have a lot more cojones than I do, because my wife and I walk into Lego stores all the time, and we're like, we love the Lego sets, but gosh, dude, they're so expensive.
Yeah,
like,
I don't even care. I
their
don't even care. Like,
payment
it's worth it
is
to me.
credit card, cash, or left arm, or
Yeah.
firstborn child. And
Yeah,
I can't. I tried giving the firstborn child, didn't work. But you picked up, which Lego set did you pick up?
So I was looking for the Falcon, and they didn't have any of the Falcon. That's going to be my next one. It's actually, honestly, so there's 6 sets that they released, and it's very similar to the Jurassic World one. So whenever they get a new franchise, like of course this is the episode 7 sets. Generally they do like 6. So they have a really high end one, and they have like really really cheap ones. The cheapest one is going to be Ren's speeder. This is Ren.
Those are the ones I buy.
And Ray. I'm so sorry, Ray speeder, and it's only like 200 and something odd pieces. The X-wing is closer to 800, and the Falcon is over 1,000. So, yeah, they're expensive, and I totally get that. And like, I recently,
I'm not even saying like Star Wars, just Legos in
just
general
Legos in
are.
general.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I've
Ridiculous.
recently fallen in love with them, but the fact is, it's like, yeah, it depends on like how much time you put into building it. Sometimes they're an easier build, but for me, it's like totally worth the investment. Of course, it's $80 because there's like 800 individual pieces, and they have to divvy those up. And there's instructions. I don't know. They're beautiful, but I picked up the Pose X-wing, which is a cool
I've
black
gotta
and
get that
orange.
one.
The black and-
X-wing. Black and orange, which is really cool because those are actually like the opposite of the primary colors of the other X-wings.
Do you think all of them are like that, or do you think
I
that
think it's just Pose.
his?
It's just Pose.
I think it's just Pose.
No,
yeah.
Pose he's got a distinctive paint scheme because he's the squadron commander. So
Yeah.
Do you think that girl from Rebels painted it for him?
no,
The Mandalorian girl. I can't remember
The
her
only
name.
thing, the only thing for me is I buy Lego sets.
She spray
and
paints everything in the show.
I,
she's the graffiti artist. That's her
I can't
weird thing.
put a lot of money into because they've offered the Falcon several times, and this is probably when I'm going to buy the Falcon. The only problem is like when I put this thing together, it's never coming apart.
Right.
It becomes furniture.
I mean, whenever I put my Lego sets together, I don't take them apart. Like I literally have had to like I've had to box up. No, my wife did this. She boxed up.
Which,
books
by the way, the
from
fact that we
bookshelves
have wives,
is awesome. No,
I
it
don't
means
even
we have
know
good taste.
how we do and have
Yeah, that's
Lego
right.
sets in our house.
The rings.
And then Mike's getting married on this year.
Yeah, this year.
Yep.
So,
But see, I have
Wow.
2 kids as well, and I love sharing this kind of stuff with them. I'm going to take like.
Do we share it with them, or is it an excuse to buy it and we blame it on the fact
Well,
that we have
I
children?
embrace whatever the hell I want.
I do it. I'm like, I buy it, and they're like, "Why are you buying that?" It's for my kid.
Well, my son likes it, but my
Don't judge me, Dad. Stop! And I just run out of the room. That's a dark story for a later time.
my daughter's getting to be the one that like pulls at my heartstrings because she knows the Star Wars universe. She's going to turn 4, and when the trailer came out, I immediately go, I'm going to watch this trailer. And I watched it one time, and I started back up. My girl comes into the room, doesn't say a word. She walks in, pushes my hand out of the way, climbs in my lap, and she goes, "Start over."
That's awesome.
Nice.
And then we
That means
look at
that
it.
it's parenting done right.
We look at it in silence, and at the end of it, da-da-da-da-da, Daddy, will you take me to see Star Wars? I almost cried. I was just like, yes,
I almost
baby,
cried.
I'm
I
ready.
almost cried just watching the trailer. Now, Mike,
Yeah,
you and
cried a
I,
little bit.
we. I mean, like, dude, like, I teared up a little bit. I got goosebumps, and we actually went out immediately after dinner. We went to the bar and talked for 2.5, 3 hours
easily,
about the trailer.
easily, just about the trailer, about a minute and a half's worth of footage.
Yep.
This thing has really just like hit us as fans, like really.
It's the
It's
Chewbacca
huge.
It pulls the
Solo
feels.
that does
It pulls the feels.
Because
guys.
it's
that's
not
what
just
I
a
mean.
movie for
It's like
us.
on my way down here, I even told these guys, like, I watched the trailer again in the car, and it was like Chewbacca, Han Solo, Chewie, we're home. He's in the tunnel of the Death Star or the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, we gotta start
immediately.
speculating.
Okay, we're gonna get to that. Hold on, hold on one second. Here, so guys, real quick,
Jumping ahead of things.
before we head out, so let's just cover. This is gonna be rapid. This is gonna be real quick. We're gonna jump into what characters what and what's going on.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start off with this because real passionate about this. See this little hot little piece right here.
Daisy Ridley?
This is Daisy Ridley. That's her real name in real life, not like a fairy tale name, which actually, the first time they were casted, I was like, Daisy is a Star Wars character? They're like, no, it's a real name. I was like, you're funny. This is Rey. In my household, we call her Princess Rey, and I'll get into that later.
Okay.
She carries this staff, which I'll rant about later. Why does she have this staff and everything that she has?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that she's borrowed that from somebody else, maybe an uncle or something.
Darth Plagueis. Anyway, so we don't know much about her. We just know that she's a scavenger who lives on this planet called Jakku. It's
Yep.
very Tatooine-ish, very desert-ish.
Yeah, a lot, and like I want to say, like that's something too that a lot of people might not understand. The trailer, it looks like Tatooine. It's not. It is Jakku, where the Battle of Jakku took place, which was one of the final battles after Return of the Jedi. Because obviously, after the destruction of the Death Star, the Empire is huge and expansive. So there were obviously going to be other battles, other places.
But she's self-sufficient, and I'm really excited for Disney to take female characters forward. I'm excited to see diversity within Star Wars movies. And guess what? The fact that I don't have to go see a Cinderella movie to bring my daughter there, the fact that they have these strong female leads is what entices
smart.
her to
I mean,
watch it. I'm excited
Now,
for it.
how much are we going to go into speculation and maybe a rumor that we heard?
We're going to do
That's
that
gonna be another
next
second.
into
All right.
theories.
Okay, then,
But
okay.
I want you to cover Finn. What do you know about Finn so far?
Okay, what we know about Finn is a stormtrooper, and apparently he's very good at being a stormtrooper, but something has always been bothering him in the back of his mind with some of the things that he's done. So this will be a character that we're going to see a redemption from. And if you look at this, he's wearing the undergarment for the stormtrooper armor underneath here. So I don't know about the pants, but you can clearly see we see the crash TIE fighter, him get up from it, and then the next thing we're seeing him running around with Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
And he's sweaty. He's sweaty in the
Sweaty.
trailer.
Something
Boys in the
is-
desert, man. Come
Something
on.
has been bothering him, and I mean, we see him.
We'll
wielding
definitely
a
get
lightsaber.
more into that into the theories.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that Rey and Finn seem to be the two leads of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to jump into possibly we're talking about good guys. So let's start off with good guys. Who wants to talk about Poe Dameron?
Mike, what do you know?
Which sounds like a cuss word in some languages, right?
Poe Dameron.
Like Poe Dameron.
There's Poe
Poe Dameron.
with his
kind of
awesome
does.
black and orange.
Please.
Yeah, I really like his awesome black and orange X-wing. It's
Yep.
probably my favorite so far. I have not been reading up nearly as much because I'm trying to stay spoiler free, and that's not going to happen in this discussion.
It's so
I
hard.
fully own that.
All I know is that like that is what Oscar is. The actor.
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac
All I
is
know
an amazing actor.
He's about to become an enormous star.
He already
Star-
is.
Star
Who
Wars.
else is it, Mike? Who else is he playing? He's
He's
playing.
playing Apocalypse.
He's Apocalypse in the
Yes.
X-Men movie. He
And
was
then
in Ex
before
Machina.
Before that, he was in Drive.
Yep.
He's
He's on a TV show that's on HBO right now.
So literally, can you guys think of like a bigger actor like X-Men, HBO series?
He's huge right now.
Yeah,
so-
like the main X-Wing pilot.
he's a good actor, big actor, but he's not a name.
He's not.
He's
Yeah,
not
like
a
I mean,
name
yeah.
actor. Much like the original Star Wars, there were no name actors. Nobody knew who Harrison Ford was. Nobody knew who Mark Hamill was or Carrie Fisher. This movie, Star Wars, will make him a huge star. Everything that he's done is
But
led
what
up
we do
to
know about
this.
him is he is commander of this X-wing squadron. So are we going to get this rogue character, or are we going to see him somebody who's more responsible because he is in charge of a squadron?
I think he's, to be honest, I think he's going to be more of because these guys seem like, loose cannons. They're like doing their own thing. They kind of grew up like out of society. I think Poe Dameron's going to be like the example.
Is he our Han
He
Solo?
knew,
He's
yeah.
the by the book
Yeah.
way to go.
I don't think
I
he'd be
mean-
Han Solo. I think the Han Solo is going to be one of these two.
Okay.
I think he's going to be by the book. Like, he's going to be the Captain America. Like, in,
Han Solo's going to be Han Solo because he's in the movie.
yeah, and Avengers when Captain America's like language. I think that's going to kind of be the Poe Dameron. But
It's
that's
too
the way
early
it
to
is.
tell. I mean,
We do see
I
him.
feel like he's going to be responsible for these two.
We
so
see him wooing when
Yeah.
he's in his X-wing. The one scene where they're flying over the water.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's looking for BB-8 because BB-8 is his. So who wants to cover BB-8 and how much I love BB-8?
I will talk about BB-8.
There you go.
I love BB-8. I'm rocking my BB-8 shirt. Woo! And that is the BB-8 remote control figure is absolutely, I think, the coolest thing that's come out on Force Friday. They're hard to find. He's about like $150 depending on what retailer. I know ThinkGeek.com had a whole bunch, but I love this guy. I'm gonna get one. I'm hoping for Christmas at least. But BB-8 is acquired by Rey. From what it looks like, there's been a couple of promotional images that have been released, and she buys him off of like a scalper or something like that, off of the side of just this Caravan, and then she acquires BB-8. But yeah, he does fit in the back of Poe's X-wing.
Most
So
interesting though.
he's the new R2, but I mean R2 is of course is in it, but he's kind of it turns the R2 and 3PO dynamic.
And he's going to have
into-
that same person. I feel as though he's going to have a lot of personality in this little soccer ball with a head.
Did you see the Star Wars Celebration where he came out and talked to R2?
I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, this is all practical, by the way. None of this is CGI.
Yes.
The ball rolling on the head. It's all practical. Oh, he rolls out, and they start like arguing, and J.J. Abrams like they don't like each other.
Okay.
And the
It
whole
was
thing,
kinda cool.
The whole thing about these little ones, they're just basically scaled down versions of what they actually
of what
made
they
the
actually
movie.
are. They're remote control. They're all built with magnets,
Gyros and magnets, and yeah,
it's such a great design. And then I think that goes back to what we were talking about originally. Is just all of our love for Star Wars. Is these droids have such a cool, unique design, and I just love them. And then the color scheme is so cool.
Yeah.
Quickly, we're gonna jump to the dark side real quick. This is gonna be rapid. I'm gonna start off with the big hitter, Kylo Ren. So what we know about him, that he works for the New Order. Okay, he has some stormtroopers there. You can see there on the graphic. The New Order is not the same as the Empire. We don't know how it came about. We'll
30
get
years
into,
have passed.
We'll get into speculation later, but he works for a group called the New Order and
Order.
the First Order. Sorry, thank you, and the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren is probably a subsidiary, like the U.S. government and the FBI. That's one way you can think about it. We know that he's a Darth Vader fanboy, and he's going around searching for holocrons, which are like little USB drives with Sith and Jedi stuff. So he's just like basically like a giant nerd like us, going from Toys R Us to ruin, looking for Star Wars stuff.
He's a Sith fanboy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Some hero worship there.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing, and that's why his lightsaber, we can tell by his lightsaber, everyone's like, why is there three things? Why is there this?
I love the hilted.
Yeah,
lightsaber.
Yes.
I love the
It's so
lightsaber.
cool. It's
Hilted
great design.
lightsaber
so
was
great.
the second highest selling thing at the Frisco Disney store, was the hilted lightsaber,
great.
which everyone hated, but
I don't hate it.
People
I
are
thought
buying it.
initially if you get a double-sided lightsaber like Darth Maul had one, you can do whatever, man. And it's like I think Stephen Colbert had the best explanation because of course like the lightsabers are powered by like crystals and stuff. It's such a cool design. I love it.
Stephen Colbert shut me down on my argument about that lightsaber. I was like,
Yeah. No,
well, I think some people like on Jedi Council, they talk about how I think some people are like too hardcore and they feel that like the Jedi is a sacred thing to have a lightsaber and it should stay stagnant and this and that. But the interesting thing you'll see in every single toy, lightsaber and everything, is this slightly red cable, like cables that come around
Yes.
it. And they're in everything. I don't care if the figure is this big or life size. These cables are around it, and I think that's really important to the character because it's showing that the lightsaber was like handmade.
Yeah.
If this was not made by an expert who was trained how to do it. This was made by
dude's
some guy
a
trying to put it
fanboy.
together.
even the energy blade itself is very crackly. It's not a solid beam.
It is, yeah.
And they put it together with the Force. Like you cannot piece it together by yourself. In Heir to the Jedi, the book, they talk about like literally all the pieces have to be floating above you, and they have to be put into a sequence with a certain amount of time. Like this has to be taught. So I love it. This is a kid who just loves the dark side as much as I do, and just like wants to get into it. That's Kylo Ren. I'm excited to see him. By the way, I think his helmet is Darth Vader's retrofitted. Other dark side, Captain Phasma.
Captain Phasma.
Oh man.
Who wants to get into Captain Phasma?
Brienne of Darth.
Yeah, I mean,
Right here.
If you haven't heard, Brienne of Darth is Captain Phasma. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's awesome. It's like we were talking about the car on the way down here. People came out freaking out. Well, she doesn't look like a chick. She's not.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
can
don't
shut
know,
up about
yeah, I don't know
And
if
it
you guys
was
saw
like-
that, but like Star
and
Wars.
they immediately shut him down. And it was like, well, yeah, she's a female, but she's also a stormtrooper.
So
So,
this-
she's wearing stormtrooper armor.
This
Why-
chick,
it
have you
doesn't
guys
to be
ever seen
feminine.
Beyond the Trailer? So this girl's huge YouTube page, Grace Randolph. You've seen her. Yeah. Does she annoy you? No, she's good. I'm just kidding. But she's like all about diversity and feminism. So she's excited to see two females, Lupita Nyong'o and Gwendolyn Christie in Star Wars. And then she complained for like 5 hours about how she's now in a stormtrooper outfit and CGI. So, but if you guys click on the helmet of her Disney store, she actually has like her.
she has.
Yeah,
She's
well, she's gonna have a
talks,
female
yeah.
voice. 'Cause it's her voice.
That's her character. I
But
mean,
it's-
But
yeah,
what do
it's
we
like-
know about her? What do you think her role is going to be?
I think she's in charge, and I think the obviously her
Of the
stormtrooper
First
outfit-
Order?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
First Order. She's gonna be like head dude in charge, just like SEAL Team 6, somebody like that. Like these are the baddest of the bad. Like we got to get this done. we literally can't trust anybody else. We're sending these people in,
Yeah.
and I believe she's in charge of them, and I
do you think,
love
Mike?
how they've done it.
But I like Philip's idea that if she's a standalone, maybe she's an elite.
Do you like the
Yeah.
cape?
Well, I mean,
Kinda
obviously,
like the
yeah, she's got
Crimson Guard
that really
before.
kind of cool cape, and like her armor is
It's
silver,
unique.
so-
It's
unique.
it denotes command.
Yeah.
The only thing I hated about this, I wish they hadn't revealed it, was her. Because I want to see a moment where she does something just totally BA, wipes out a whole bunch of people. Somebody says, Captain Phasma.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
That
Like
would be
It's
I,
cool.
Metroid all
I
over
was,
again.
I was.
I'm also excited.
I have to disagree with you because when I knew it was Gwendolyn Christie, because I love Game of Thrones. And
I'm
I love-
still excited
I
for
love
her.
her character. No, it sold me more into the movie.
It's too much of a marketing chip not to move. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
right.
there's twists in the movie that you expect the writers to show up on. Like, that's what we expect. But that's a huge marketing tool.
It's a major actress in a big role, and just because she's in armor doesn't mean that she's not that role. You know, so it's a huge thing. I mean, it's the same thing as being like, well, James Earl Jones was the voice of Darth Vader.
I think she's going to be our next Boba Fett, honestly.
I think the same thing. She's not going to get a ton of screen time, but what she has is going to be
It's gonna be huge,
impactful.
yeah.
When she's there, we're going to be like,
drawn to her.
oh.
well, because the design is awesome. She's like a just cool
and
character.
Donald Gleason. His character is, can someone remind me real quick?
He's one of those. He's Kylo Ren's. Yeah.
No, Donald Gleason, he's like, looks like Tarkin in there. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
He's on the screen.
But he's not Andy Serkis's character. Okay, he's basically like a Moff or whatever.
Yeah.
He
He's
is-
not our Supreme Commander, who's being played by Andy Serkis, but
No, but Donald
This is
Gleason,
all we know
a
about
lot of people, no, literally the picture. Like when
Yeah.
he came out on San Diego Comic Con, he's like, I'm evil. We're like, thank goodness. We at least know that you're in the movie. Like he was in IMDb for a long time, and his character is, General Hux, which everyone's like, he could be Luke's son. Just because like facial features, they look the same. I'm like, stop it. People don't care anymore about how people look and try to match it up with other people. Like, there's a suspension of disbelief. We can just match it up. Stop it. Like, he's evil. Just let him be evil. Let's wait for the gosh darn movie. I think he's like going to be the next Tarkin because they've pushed Tarkin
yeah,
and
we're
like
really getting a command vibe with the whole
Yeah, for
code
sure.
and
'Cause there's
everything.
two sides. There's the Jedi Sith
Sith
side.
The Phasma, she's kind of got the cape. Nobody in the Empire
There's-
really had the cape except for like Vader and some of the Crimson Guard.
And I mean, like
But
a
it's
lot
like
of
they
some of the
kinda
Plus the
stormtroopers-
armor is
incorporated
chrome.
some of
A lot of
that.
the stormtroopers had like kind of like a shoulder guard.
Yeah,
like a
That was
sergeant
sort
or
of- but it's
something like
much
that.
more of like it's
But now
much
it's
more of
kinda
a
like the
of a
more-
decorative
yeah.
kind of.
And
well,
like
I
the
think
more
there's two
decorative
sides. I think
stuff.
there's like the mystical side of the Jedi and Sith, and then there's the other side, very political, army, other side. And I think there's two very huge dynamics there. They both judge each other like all else. If you watch Clone
But
Wars,
what's really funny and unique is like what you have to think about too. And I know we're gonna get a little more into like theories and stuff about the movie, but you now have the First Order, and they are the rebels in this new trilogy because obviously the Empire was overthrown. So you know the rebels were obviously the good guys, and they brought kind of balance and peace to the universe. And now you have this group of people who are just fanboys like Kylo Ren and whoever Andy Serkis's character is. We know very little about his character.
We know that he is the Supreme Commander of the First
and we know
Order. That's
we know
about
that
it.
his role is
He's force
somewhat
sensitive.
CG'd because the only screenshots they've released has been him sitting in kind of like a mocap thing with a bunch of like the dots on his face.
Right.
So his character will be animated somehow because it's Andy Serkis.
well, he's the master of mocap.
Yeah.
Like Avengers hired him for
yeah.
mocap. He plays Gollum. He plays Caesar. He is the master of motion capture.
yeah, he's great.
literally kills it.
Yeah, that's what I love
Everything.
about that's what I love about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is that he was the lead actor. He was the first name that comes up on the credit roll, and so I'm sure they're reserving so much because they don't want to give it away.
And
because-
Serkis is the guy who there's been an awakening. That's who's talking.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just to clarify, that is who's talking.
So we covered him. So do we want to talk about?
Oh yeah, we're
theories?
already at like 38 minutes.
Let's talk about theories.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wanna
so
do that.
this will be quick. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to set it up.
Okay.
Each of us are going to rant about our theories. I'm going to time it.
Okay.
I'm going to time it just to keep us on time.
Okay.
We each get let's do it this way. How much time do you think we should?
3 minutes.
I'm going to start
3
now.
minutes?
3 minutes.
Great. We're going to start with Mike. What are your top theories? What do you because we don't know much about Star Wars. They've released an Instagram teaser and like two small like they very
Instagram
little's been
teaser
put out.
was the first that you see Finn with the lightsaber.
Right,
So-
Finn,
Yeah.
Finn with a lightsaber. Well, if we go off the title, The Force Awakens, and with Circus where he's talking about its feeling.
That it's been an awakening.
So with Finn, why does he have a lightsaber out?
Why is a stormtrooper?
out in the woods firing up? Did he find it? Did Luke give it to him? Does he feel like he has the Force, so now he has to pick up to become a Jedi? Are the so-called bad guys the Sith? Are they really the bad guys? Have the rebels, have the Alliance that have set in the new government, are they kind of the charity now? And maybe this small rebel force, because remember, it's perspective. Who's the good guy and who's the bad guys, right? If you're on the so-called bad guy side, your perspective is you're right. Much like in the first movies where they had to flip it around, right? So maybe we're that way. How much do we see actually in there? How much is Luke in there? Does Luke start another Jedi temple?
A new Jedi council.
Is Finn part of the temple and he has to train everybody? Then do they get to the part where you have to go to a Jedi council? Do you rebuild that? Is Luke in the movie for 5 minutes?
Yeah. Is he not a main character? Yeah.
Yeah, are they not main characters? Are they putting in Luke, Chewie, and Han Solo for fan service so it ties them together? This is it. They're not an 8 or 9.
And they're just moving forward with like Finn or Rey.
They're moving forward with that.
If you had a bet, what bet do you want to put up on a board? We're going to keep track of these bets, and I'll name... Here's the thing. We're all going to put a bet at the end of the theories. Whatever bet doesn't work out, we're going to do... They have to be a part of a video of a good review. You have to do a good review of the prequels and put it on your individual YouTube page.
That'd be easy. I don't think that the first 3 are that bad. But
There you go. Then Mike is...
Then bomb it, man.
Mike is ready to lose.
That's fine.
I feel that Luke
You're like that guy in the bar, like, yes, the big one, I'll take her. Like, that's pretty much what you said just then. I'll talk good about the prequels, and I'll also take Aunt Gwendolyn home. Yeah.
Let's clarify that the prequels are not better than the original trilogy, so let's back up the crazy bus. I'm just saying they're not that awful.
Right,
It's Star Wars.
okay.
If you're a true Star Wars fan and love Star Wars,
So what do you
tolerate the
what-
prequels.
what do you-
No,
what
I
are you
do.
banking
I do
on,
tolerate
My-
them,
my
but you have to do a
prediction
good
is-
review of them. That's the issue.
My prediction is Luke dies.
Oh yeah,
Okay. There you go.
that's your on the board.
On the board, put it up on the
For an
board.
episode? Write it up there.
Luke dies. Not a time frame. Not
Erase
the
all of
movie,
it.
not the end
Erase
the
all of it.
movie.
We're putting it up there.
Okay.
Luke dies, episode 7.
Luke dies this episode 7.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, Chris, I'm going to time it. You got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Go through your theories,
All right.
and then do your bet at the end.
Okay. Biggest thing is the name of the movie is The Force Awakens. I think that's what Mike was bringing up. I feel that it's going to be very different than the other movies because all of the other movies were dictated by certain specific individuals were Force sensitive. And then with the prequels and stuff like that, it had to do with midichlorians and stuff. I feel that they're going to totally have a way with midichlorians or won't even be
It's
bothered
canon.
at all.
Shut up.
Right. It's canon because it has to be. So I feel that The Force Awakens is because all of a sudden, at one moment, everyone becomes a little Force sensitive, including, Finn. So he's the most significant character. Like, that's the very beginning of the trailer, the teaser trailer. He pops up, and he's, like, kind of panicked, and he's on Jakku, and he's, like, sweating, and then he's a stormtrooper, but that's what would lead him to maybe have these feelings of regret and not wanting to work with the First Order is because he's now Force sensitive, and now he has these powers. And that's where the significance of that Luke comes in, is because all these people now have to learn how to channel these powers. So what do you do in a universe where like it's like that quote from The Incredibles where Syndrome says, "When everyone's a super, nobody is." And I feel like that's what it's going to be. Is like maybe
good.
not everyone, but I feel that like a lot of people have this awakening where the Force is way more predominant in every single person, and so it kind of rebalances and adjusts the power struggles because everyone has this ability. Kylo Ren, I feel like you were kind of mentioning, I feel like he is like a Sith fanboy. He's not a Sith, but he's so diehard a fan of the way that it used to be run that he's hunting down all of these Sith relics, and that's why he's dangerous, is because he's crazy. And if you know the actor and you've ever seen the show Girls, that dude is like crazy, great actor, but he's just a weird dude. And I think he's going to be perfect for Kylo Ren. I feel, as far as my predictions go, I guess that is like my guess, is I feel that...
You're good. You're
the
right at
reason-
2 minutes.
The reason why Finn has that power is because the Force awoken in him. Force awoken Finn.
So Finn.
What's your bet though?
Finn
Like, it
full
has to be
Jedi?
like,
Finn gets trained by Luke.
come on, that's soft.
Well, it's
That's
okay.
soft
Okay, well,
sauce.
I-
That's like saying someone is going to say the word "the."
Well,
All right, all
Wrote it
right.
down.
Okay.
there you go.
All right. Chris playing it safe.
It's a softball, but I mean, come on.
Wait, in that episode, wait, in that,
I mean, like,
wait, no.
but then I don't believe.
Wait, that's not too bad. As long as you commit to it happening in this movie.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that's actually a little bit harsher than I thought. Because okay,
Yep.
So for me, Chris kind of took mine because he and I have talked about it before, and we kind of agreed on a lot of that. But
I was
one of the
before you in
things-
line, bro.
one of the things for me, I'll stick more to the dark side of the way the movie's probably going to go. For me, I think it's kind of like you're saying, like back in the old movies, you kind of had the Empire, and you had the army, and then you had a mystical side with the Sith. I think in this, it's more like the New Order thing. I think it's more of just the history gathered and like people that like saw what they were doing and liked what they were doing and just kind of combined the two. Hence the cape on Phasma. She Darth Vader had a cape. He was in charge, so she's got the cape. She's in charge, stuff like that. And then Kylo Ren is obviously just a force-sensitive fanboy.
So
of
do you
everything.
think Captain
Everyone agrees
Phasma
with
is
that.
like mimicking Darth Vader?
I do a little bit because she's. I mean, if you look at the armor, it's darker. It's not.
I like
anything
that.
you've
I
ever
haven't
seen
thought about that before.
Yeah.
It's not anything you've ever seen before. It's got a different kind of feel to it. It's a little darker. It's a little like, I need that guy shot in the face. This chick's gonna do
It's
it.
a little more of a commanding presence.
Yeah,
put
I
it
mean,
that
it's
way.
just it demands your attention. Whatever she says, you're gonna do it. She's gonna lead the most elite unit there is, and I think this is gonna be a movie where stormtroopers actually
Shoot
are
people.
soldiers,
And hit
it's
people.
not.
Yeah.
and
On
it's
target,
not
yeah.
gonna be like
That would have been a
weird
great.
thing.
You should have guessed that. Like stormtroopers
And
will hit
then
their
I'm
targets.
not done yet. But Kylo, and then I think Kylo Ren. I mean, everybody. I mean, I think we're all in agreement. He's just kind of a fanboy of the Sith and all that stuff because I think he's just kind of force sensitive. But I think maybe he kind of grew up out away from anybody that could ever notice that, and just kind of got really into it. And that's why he started gathering the artifacts, like you see in the trailer with Vader's helmet and all that stuff. And then with Rey, that's also my other prediction. That's Han and Leia's daughter. That's my prediction. So
bold buddy.
short to the point. I will
That's a
say,
good prediction.
I will say I did not like the fact that they spoiled the point that Finn got the lightsaber,
On its
whether or
own.
not because I think you were right, and I think he's going to end up being force sensitive and trained. But I wish that would have been a surprise in the film because you and I were talking about it. I think he's going to get his tail kicked immediately after he.
Well,
picks up the
duh.
lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then,
Like, duh.
yeah, exactly. What I'm saying, it's like completely obvious. He's going to get ridiculously beat down. You're going to be right. He's going to get trained, and then he's going to save the day. Like, that's hands down. But I'll go with my bet that is Leia and Han's daughter.
That's like me playing Chris in movie trivia. It's like let me just start now. I haven't done it before, but let's just start. I'm gonna get worked hard.
Sometimes you got to win.
Somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to die.
Yeah.
Put it up on the board.
Put it up on the board.
We're on the
Okay.
board. Jason, I'm excited for you. I'm
Okay,
I'm really excited.
Honestly, out of everybody that you've mentioned, my character to watch for the movie is Rey, because there's no way this girl's name is Rey. Her name is Jaina Solo. Okay. Also, that this lightsaber is not easy to come by. We see a scene. A young hand is handing this to an older lady's hand.
Yeah.
That is her handing that lightsaber to her mom.
Uh,
She had Rey is on the run. She is on Jakku for a reason, and I believe she's running from a responsibility that she did not want to take on. The scene where Chewie and Han were home. Clearly, they're in the Millennium Falcon. So not only did she run, she took Dad's car. That's my theory.
Right.
And while they're on the planet, I'm thinking that he finds this lightsaber in her belongings.
Okay.
This is my theory. I believe that Jaina not only because there's a rumor that there's a scene where she is in a room she is in a room full of Knights of Ren and takes them out. And
with the staff.
And
I freaking hate that
so
staff.
not only do I think that she's like, I think she's already been trained in the Jedi ways.
Okay.
So
or the
that's my
stupid
prediction.
staff ways.
Who's
She-
she trained by? Leia or Luke?
Uncle Luke.
Donatello.
With her
That's why
stupid
she-
I'm not
staff.
letting this go, dude. I'm sorry.
But
Jason, all right,
Donatello and his
legit.
stupid
But
staff.
that is she is actually my character to watch, because why is she on Jakku? Why is Han going back there? Clearly he's looking for his ride, because we're home. They're in the Falcon.
Yeah.
And she jacked Dad's keys. So that's what I'm looking at. I think she's the hand, like, Mommy, what is this? Well, that was your uncle's lightsaber. And I'm thinking that she's already full-fledged Jedi.
Well, in the trailer, it's Luke's robotic hand.
No.
No.
No. It is a young hand handing it up to somebody who's looking at it.
It's been confirmed. It was Lupita Nyong'o's pirate character who raided the Cloud City afterwards, where the lightsaber is found. She's CGI. That's her handing the lightsaber to just somebody else.
Well, I think it's being handed to Leia. I'm thinking that this
Well, no, like,
lightsaber
let's
was
go,
actually
like,
hers.
We're gonna bet. Like he has put it up.
What's your bet? What's your bet?
My bet, she's already a Jedi.
Okay.
Already trained? I like it.
She ran.
Dude, I like that.
For some reason.
That's good.
Theory I've not heard,
So
but
she's
I like.
fully trained in the beginning of the movie Jedi.
And she's just not
With a
using her
crazy-
abilities.
I would probably say I would agree. I think we'd all agree like high-end Padawan status.
Well, no, that makes sense because I mean, Leia is obviously some kind of force sensitive, and she would recognize it in her at a young age, and she'd be like, "Here, go see Uncle Luke. Let's see what he knows way more about this because he's actually trained than I was."
I see a scene with her on the junk planet. Maybe she's cutting a deal for some scrap or something and says, maybe 128's good. Or just something
Yeah.
like that. Like, we're going to get little nods that I'm betting this is our Jedi.
Okay.
Like, maybe he's getting his butt kicked and she's the one that rescues.
All right.
sense.
Charlotte,
Strong.
are you over there? You can zoom in on me for this?
That's good.
Because I'm going to get into this. I'm getting
There you go.
I'm getting into this like Michael Jackson in daycare.
Oh, too soon.
Man.
Wow.
Too soon? It's been like 100 years.
Jared Subway joke.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting into this like Bill Cosby and a dirty martini.
There you go.
Wow. Okay. So,
And my name's Rufalin. No. Okay, real quickly, this staff pisses me off. The reason why is because it's every toy, everything that she has. This is not a regular staff. So the theory is that this is Darth Plagueis' staff. The reason why is because in a toy that Darth Plagueis was in, Darth Plagueis, by the way, is Darth Sidious's mentor. This is his staff, which is actually a force-sensitive staff. That's what I believe it to be. I also believe that Rey and Kylo Ren are twins. They're the twins from the Amazing Expanded Universe that we listen to. But because Han is a scoundrel, that those twins didn't grow up with their parents. We know that Han Solo had a African American wife during the comic series, so that possibly could tie in Finn.
Nah.
She busts out of his ship and goes, "Where's my husband?"
That's the worst part.
I actually believe Han on this one about she's not as.
We pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah. Move on. Good theory.
Anyways, it's
I
still
like-
a theory.
I
It's
like
still
that
a
Rey
theory.
and Kylo Ren are
I believe the reason why Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, is such a fanboy of Darth Vader is because he finds out that's his grandfather. I believe he goes and General Snoke, played by Andy Serkis, which we saw in the concept art, was like this robotic face. I feel like he finds him and reveals that to him. And if you guys look at the Kylo Ren toys, you guys see all the cracks and like everything in his helmet. I feel that's like artifacts and like Darth Vader, like it's all just pieced together. Like that's his whole look. Look at his lightsaber. It's just a giant pieced together mess. Same thing with his helmet. I think that Lupita Nyong'o's character is going to be amazing. That's not even like a really cool theory. That's just my personal opinion because I love 12 Years a Slave and motion capture. But those are like the top theories that have happened. We can piece together like the storyline of what happened so far. But I also think that Luke is only going to be in the third act for less than 5 minutes. That's my bet.
That's your bet. Luke's only in it for 5 minutes. Third
You
act.
won?
Uh,
You're just say 5
10 minutes.
The
10 minutes in the
I
third
feel
act.
Like
No,
the
on
stronger
the board needs to be that they're twins.
That's a better bet, man.
that is a
That's
good-
a
Twins?
better theory. Yeah.
I got it. They're
That
twins.
needs to be on the board.
That
They're
Kylo
twins?
and Rey are twins. I like that.
Maybe
That's a-
somebody,
like that. I
maybe
like that
she
a lot.
saw somebody go to the dark side and she was like, I don't
I mean,
want
you're
any
gonna
part
bring
of that.
balance.
I just think they got separated at birth. I think that's like look at lots of other movies. What they do is they kind of slightly recreate what happened in the original and put the little spin on it. So the fact that twins were separated at birth,
I can see that, and it would be it would be a solid shout out to the other guys that have read like all the expanded universe we were talking about earlier. Like, oh yeah, they did have twins, just in case we said
Yeah.
it wasn't canon anymore. But here's
Well,
a little,
it's
a little
Luke and
cartoon
Leia all
guys.
over again, except
Except-
Luke does not go to Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah.
which there's been huge comparisons of Kylo Ren and Luke. Basically, exactly what you said,
Right.
Mike, is that they're pretty much the same person. It's like in Knights of the Old Republic, if you get to pick if you're like light or dark, that's what it is. It's you get this is the dark side of Luke
Yeah,
if
flip
he
of
would
the
have gone
coin
that way.
kind of thing. Yep.
But so that finishes up our theories, our bets. So whoever's bets don't pan out, they'll do a group video on their own individual YouTube page of a positive review of the prequels. I'm excited to see that, and I'll be sitting there with popcorn. Or I'll be doing it myself. I have no idea yet. But just please stop showing me that staff.
You know, the ends of these do look like, that does look like a lightsaber at the end of there.
I'm telling you, Darth Plague, that's a Force-sensitive staff. If it just turns out to be like a Donatello thing she carries around and she kicks butt with a staff, I'm going to be like, come, really?
Does walk a lot.
Maybe she needed a new hip, and then she had to use her.
I gotta get a new hip. I need a Force sensitive.
Should I get a gun? No. Should I get like a lightsaber or a droid? You know what? There's a great piece of metal right there. I could probably bust a guy's teeth in with that. Go ahead and throw me that,
it also
Jabba.
aids you in walking long distances, so
Yeah.
you're good.
This is the staff you're looking for.
There you go.
But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please follow us at Dweeb Factory. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Zack8Ash. That is a pun. Thank you so much. Jason, where can people find you?
You can follow me at Jason the X on Instagram and Twitter, and follow at SCNS Live for stuff from the show.
Which is great, by the way.
I'm Philip. I'm at Redbeard TV, and you can also follow me at Viking Rugger 02.
And I am Chris, aka Captain Redbeard. You can follow me on Twitter at Redbeard Captain. You can also find me on Instagram under the same handle. And of course, go to redbeardtv.com and you can follow us there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Try to build that up. And then we have a Twitter account for the Redbeard
We do.
TV.
It is O Redbeard TV. So O for official Redbeard TV.
Where people
Is there like a
can
bunch
find-
of fake ones? Is that why?
Yeah,
Yes, there's.
there's other Redbeard ones. So
Oddly
we're
enough, there's
officially-
other Redbeard TVs or Redbeard names.
But they're
out
not the
there.
same as us. Where can people find you, Mike?
So if you go to CaptainRedbeard.com, you can actually buy seasoning for your food.
You can.
We tried to buy that. You can find me at Full Metal Penny on Twitter.
And guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you have not seen the Star Wars video on Redbeard TV, please go watch it. If you guys have not seen the live shows on Jason's channel, please go watch them. Tons of fun. And always follow us here at Dweeb Factory. Thank you so much. May the Force be with you. You guys have a great night.